So let's see. So we are now with Andrea Parodi. So she's in coming forward, and she's going to talk about her CAT system. She's from Old Dominion and VMask. It's a knowledge and acquisition and training system she's developed for the military. She's a former military officer herself. Take it away, Andy.
Hello. The program that we're talking about today has been requested by the Department of Defense. They asked one question: how do we know people are ready for deployment? How do we know they can do their job? One of the major criteria is their ability to do their job, which is trauma and trauma knowledge. We can capture the knowledge piece a little easier than we can the performance piece, but we wound up looking at what is the trauma mechanism of education within DoD, and it's massive, it's diverse. We have an Army way of caring, a Navy way of caring, an Air Force, a crazy way of caring. It doesn't make sense. We know, oh honey, we could talk, but no. But we know that within, we will talk. We do know that as a team member, and again, I was blessed enough to be the head of the Navy's Team Research Center for Team Steps, which is a patient safety program that has been fostered by the Department of Defense. I put team steps in everything I do, including brushing my teeth in the morning. It's a team event. But we do know that there have been issues within patient care where team members who have left, that knowledge base, that experiential base made a critical difference, and it wasn't a good one. So what do? We've got to look at how we teach. So with CATS, I thought, I like CATS, so it just sort of worked out that way. It's a knowledge acquisition and testing system. We were tasked originally to test, but what are you testing? What are you expecting people to know? And do you know it when you see it? And we frankly don't. So what we're trying to do is look at just not fixing a system, but changing the system. So the first part is looking at a staging of multiple types of modeling and simulation, because that's what we do. The first part is like a virtual computer-based process, where instead of removing maybe a very capable talking head, but a talking head nonetheless, that person represents an asset that we can't always spare, not from the workplace, not from deployment, not from whatever else they're doing. But we need to have people performing at their best, and we don't always do that on a day-to-day basis. There's that variability. So what we have is a program that looked at tracking a theoretical thread through all the disciplines. What disciplines are we doing? Well, just doing one discipline, boring. So we're doing nursing, APNs, PAs, medical physicians, and surgeons, all in one process. How can you do that? Well, if you really think about science, there isn't a science for nursing and a science for the docs. It really, I mean, we have maybe difference in scope of practice and delivery, but what we're trying to communicate is what is our underlying underpinning for the care of these catastrophically injured patients. This isn't just for the military. HADR, humanitarian assistance, disaster response, happens every day now in our world, sadly enough, from a marathon run to a local fire in a community. We need to know how to respond across the board and have a seamless and consistent way of interacting with our patients and within an emergency system. Our system is very broken. It is very stratified. We need to have a uniting around how do we do our work. So we have a process where we've looked at the underlying theoretical framework of care for trauma, but the scope of practice is what might define uniquenesses within the disciplines, as well as the technologies that we also are introducing. Our technologies are various. We do our practice in incredible austerity and using very high-tech methods. We have 19 and 20-year-olds now being looked at threading femoral intra-aortic balloons for non-compressible hemorrhage. These are 20-year-old children, really, who are doing massive work. So we needed a system that wasn't, thank you, a standalone, but a part of a long system. So the standalone piece on a temporary for the knowledge is using a program that uses mastery training, because you have to be smart, but you also have to be fast. The mastery training, once you've gotten the mastery, you go back and you try to get your time down, because being smart and being slow still kills. So what we needed to do was move them into that genre. Immediately upon acquiring that knowledge, which we now can measure. It pops to a cloud, so there's no burden on the instructors for the documentation. We then would put them in a skills rodeo, get them used to that, which is a one-on-one, but don't have you teach me. I now know I need to teach the instructor. I need the SMEs for what they really are there for, their expertise, their lessons learned, their pearls of wisdom. Then we move them into a full scenario of simulation where they're working with the team. They are also graded on the incorporation of team and safety components, because you don't speak up for safety in an environment where you have no safety net, you've got a major problem. Please come and look at what we've got. We've got multiple types of game approaches, and we've embedded all of our resources within the system so they can learn as they go and learn from home as well. So that will help sustain our knowledge as well as add to it and push more evidence-based practices. And I'm out of breath and I'm out of time. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy.